You are watching I Am AVL, and I'm Alli Marshall here with Hank West, and I'm just going to have you guys introduce yourselves, say what instrument you play in the band. Maybe start with Henry.
All right. Well, my name is Henry, a.k.a. Hank West. I play the horn, or some people call it the trumpet, and I sing.
I'm Andrew. I play keys in Hank West.
I'm Jay Good, and I play drums in Hank West and the Smokin' Hots.
And missing a guitarist today.
Yeah, he got taken out by some Mexican food. It happens.
That's unfortunate, but the whole band will be performing at DIG Festival on Friday, August 22nd at the One Stop at 9:15.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, DIG Fest is always a lot of fun, and I think it's cool that you all are going to be there representing jazz, though specifically with Hank West and the Smokin' Hots, it's space age jazz. And I love that name because to me, when I think of the jazz age, especially in the 20s, there was something about that time that was like so incredibly modern. Like now, from the perspective of now, it seems kind of vintage, but at the time it was kind of space age. Is that kind of along the lines of what inspired the idea for the band?
What do you want to approach it, or should I?
Yeah, I mean, I think that jazz in the 20s was very forward thinking because it mixed races and genders in ways that were surprising at the time, and certainly led the way in that front. Also, it was musically inspiring to both classical musicians and to many other musicians that worked alongside. Jazz was this amazing new way of thinking and making music, and so we're definitely inspired by that concept of jazz, is that, and try to keep it fresh in that way that it was in the 20s, where it was a very fun way to make and think about music, as well as for people, for at that time, jazz was not for people sitting down. It was for people standing up, having a great time. Mm-hmm. And we try to keep that aspect of it alive, and that's the side of jazz that really needs to be brought back, which is dancing.
Yeah, which is why it also makes sense to not just be at a jazz festival or at like a sit-down dinner club thing, but to be part of a festival like DIG that has all these different kinds of music and is really vibrant and experimental even.
Right, it's neat. I think a lot of people might see a band like ours if we called ourselves a pop band, they'd walk away and say that was jazzy. Well, I'd like people to walk away and say, man, that was poppy, and to sort of flip that paradigm on its head too, to try to sort of show a lot of people like what jazz can be and what jazz musicians can do when they want to have a lot of fun.
Yeah,
and I think the main thing is fun is probably the main ingredient there. We just want people to come out and have a good time, and jazz has gotten kind of a bad stigma over the years, and it's like we gotta remind people, it's fun music, and it's and what we do especially is kind of hopefully a fun twist on it.
Yeah, well, I think if there has been a stigma in the past, it's definitely not happening now, because there's been a lot of talk about this being the golden age of jazz in Asheville. Do you all feel like that's true? Are you really seeing it like that?
There is a really interesting jazz scene in this town that doesn't happen very often, and throughout this country. It's like 1920s jazz resurgence or something, old-timey jazz, which is dance jazz. I guess it is kind of a golden age of jazz, but I don't think it's something that's just going to have a crest and then fall away. I think it's something that's coming back, hopefully, to be a mainstay in Asheville.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a really important point, that just because something's having a resurgence or a big moment, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's just a fad and next year everyone will be on to the next thing. And I think it's true that for the members of Hank West, that each of you are also part of different bands in town and playing different sorts of music. I mean, a lot of it's jazz influenced, but this isn't your only project.
Right. In a way, jazz is our life. We kind of live jazz. So it doesn't necessarily be one band. It could be just a whole bunch of bands. It's all the same language, though.
Yeah, that's the great thing about jazz. It prepares you to understand a lot of music and play a lot of music. So, when I have an interest in a kind of music, I can, with my abilities to play jazz, it's like easy to go out and grab that and pull it in as an influence for when we're putting together a Hank West song. You know, it makes everything just like, oh, I can grab that and make it mine and go for it. That I think is like really what we're seeing with like these jazz players in town that are starting to mature, like us. I hope we're maturing anyway. Maybe more fermenting, but and so we start, you know, like, so Henry plays with the correct tones and with Empire Strikes Brass, and I mean, so we got some surf rock sensibilities in there, got some New Orleans street beat sensibilities in there. You know, it's a lot of things that we can bring together and mash together, and it ends up making a pretty shiny and new thing. But it is really centered on what we know as jazz musicians and what in our experience there.
Yeah. I think one thing that you do, Andrew, that's interesting is that you perform on the street and you actually like push a piano down the street, which is a real commitment to your music. But what have you found that you've learned from performing on the street that you can then apply to like shows within a venue?
Get people's attention. Dress loud because people listen with their ears, or people listen with their eyes. So you should dress loud. You messed up my own saying. And you know, have and you know, have basically try to have an act. I know that sometimes I get very focused on the music, and so it's like I have to constantly remind myself to bring myself out, keep myself in the moment, and playing. You really get reminded of that on the street, though, because you know, people will come up right behind you. They'll come up and touch your instrument or set their coffee on your instrument or whatever. Ukulele players don't have this problem, but I do. But it's a good school. But there's also a lot of differences that highlight what you need to apply yourself as a musician in that environment. Then it also helps you understand what makes a stage environment, and how you need to go in that direction too.
Yeah, I think that that's an interesting conversation to have, just because Asheville's so rich, both in like the music that's happening in venues, but also what's happening on the street. Even I know you're aware of this, but there's a film being made right now about local buskers, which is cool, and probably high time somebody did that. Yeah,
Asheville punches way above its weight in music, and especially in street music. It's it's coming together, and we've seen a lot of bands that started on the street and went to a venue. You know, when there wasn't a venue to welcome an act, the street welcomed that act, and those people are now performing really well. It's inspiring to see.
Yeah.
And can I just say, not just street musicians, but all performers. Silver Girl, Juggling Man. It's for y'all. Okay. Just had to cover all the bases there.
Yeah. Well, good job getting Juggling Man in there.
You guys good.
The guy who will juggle 3 things, whatever you want.
Feather and a bowling ball, man. Come on, that's hard. Man.
That guy has a lot of like dangerous objects down there. Like
yeah, I'd love to see his permit.
So another thing that you all do, you play a lot of shows indoors in various venues around town, but you've also been playing a number of festivals. And I wondered if you, like, is there a different process for getting ready for a show, you know, if it's like indoors at night versus outdoors at, 2 p.m?
Definitely. There's it's our job to fill the space that we're hired to fill. If it's an outdoor festival, if it's in the grass, if it's indoors, if it's on the street, like you were talking about, we have to make the most adequate music to happen in that spot. Mm-hmm. What we do kind of is channel the world that we live in, which is imaginary. It's a make-believe world, which is okay to have a make-believe world. Anyway, you channel that and then see how you can efficiently fill the space you're given with that world, and effectively transporting people that are in your area or in the vicinity into your imaginary realm.
Yeah. Each venue that we play in is, you can think of it like a blank coloring book, and so like a festival might be a much larger page. So that's a decision we kind of have to make once we're in the moment. Once we're on stage and we know how much space we have and how much sound we're trying to fill. At that point, we start making creative decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gig starts the minute you step into the visibility of the people that you're going to be playing for.
yeah, it's like the arena, you know, like that's us. You know, once we step out on stage, it's like the football team running out, you know, and giving the high fives, and then
strapping on some tape.
Flip the coin and go.
You're golden child. Get ready for it.
And a lot of that comes, a lot of what makes, you know, our act different in one venue or another is the people that are in there in that moment, and that just like a good DJ always knows what song to play next. We try to have that same sensibility and know what song needs to be played next. So that's why it's something, every time you see us, you know, you're going to see something a little different. We actually put together a set list and stuck to it for 2 shows and then threw it out the window because we wanted to. It's so much more fun, and the shows go so much better when we choose the next song based on that moment rather than what we were thinking about 2 days ago when we wrote a set list.
Yeah, it's like a two-way street with the audience, you know, like the audience gives us energy and we process it and then give them back, you know, our mutated version of their energy.
So do you actually work with some sort of an idea of a set list? Like if you go out and the audience is just like not really bringing it to start with, do you have a plan, or do you still just kind of wing it in the moment?
We usually go in with a plan and it immediately changes.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Do you feel like there are certain venues that lend themselves more to that imaginary world that you're kind of conveying through the music?
What do you think?
I think the like, I'm not going to mention any names, but the bigger, more basic venues that are like a big square, kind of an empty slate. I think those are really good for adding lots of crazy cool lights, especially if they have a lot of room for dancing. If you can put some go-go dancers anywhere there's a high ceiling, you can launch some balloons or some like pheromone scented fruit cutouts of foam. You know, you can launch them into the crowd or anything like that. That's just kind of less cramped.
Yeah, in the smaller venues, you can't launch as many things.
So probably not so much launching at the one stop for Dig Festival. Then it is a little bit smaller. Probably not room for pheromone.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
scented. Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
The trebuchet's probably not going to be ready by then anyway. So
Okay, noted. Well, before we wrap up, I did want to ask, it's been about a year and a half since your album Starship Nighthawk came out. Are you working on new music at this time?
yeah, that's like all we're doing. We've Hank's written a bunch of great songs, and they're coming together really well. And we've made some deep progress on the tracks we have, and you know, it's just a couple more sessions in the studio that we need to polish it up, and we're thinking about some novel approaches about how to release these things, because it seems that all the existing business models are broken. So why not make up your own and have some fun with it? So we're definitely going to be having some fun in the coming weeks. We're talking, you know, like in the next month or two, we're gonna have some really strong material that we're really happy with, that really captures us.
Can I encourage people to do things on this, or is this like public radio where I can't say, hey, you should do this?
It's fine with me if you want to encourage.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we have a newsletter, and for all those who want to keep up with our innovations, because we are from the future after all, we're pretty good at innovating things. You can sign up for our newsletter on our Facebook, and you know, if we release a video game with our soundtracks on it and the soundtracks are upgradable, then you'll be the first to know about it, and you can get it for free. So there you go.
Sounds pretty good. Are you gonna play any new music at the Dig Festival show?
Probably almost all new music.
All right.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a couple in the clip that we just rehearsed yesterday that, you know, no one's heard.
Cool.
So yeah, it's definitely this is a fertile band. You know, you can take that however you like, but we come up with a lot of new songs, you know, quickly. It's really fun. As a musician, it's a really great project to be in. It's like you never get feeling dried out. Yeah,
we spread our seed at lightning speed like chicken feed for those who need. Sorry, I just had to go there. I don't know why that came out of me just then.
We really can't record our ideas fast enough. Like, we've got so much backlog.
Yeah.
It's just about building up enough finances for our studio time, really. Like, if we could spend a week in the studio, we'd probably have 3 albums worth of material.
Yeah.
Like, here, set up and spend a week, bam, we would.
Yeah.
That's probably true.
And I am instead of playing a song right now for everybody, we brought a track that's going to be from our new album. So it's going to be the first time it's going to be broadcast at all. So I guess after the interview, we'll have that.
Yep. We will have that. So, yeah, so we'll listen to that now. Thank you so much. Hank West and the Smokin' Hots, again, performing at Dig Festival on Friday, August 22nd at One Stop at 9:15. And you are watching I Am AVL.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, great. So I didn't mean to do your job. The track.
Get the drummer some, y'all. Yeah, Alli, Alli.